Hey guys, welcome back. This is kind of a different video for me. I haven't sat down before. And I'm making this video because if you didn't know, I love to read. It's my hobby, I guess. And bless the people in my life, but they just don't like to hear me talk about the books that I read. Because I love to go into detail about books that books and shows that I love. Sorry, it's my sister and her friend. They will probably burn in here. Come on here and find a community of people that would care about the books I read, because I read a lot and I have a lot of different opinions about them, and I love listening to other people's opinions, and I'm like, I want to say in something. And before we get into this, I just want to tell you, I am embarrassingly late to trends, book trends, embarrassingly late. I didn't read It Ends With Us until last year, so a little disclaimer going on there. But I do have a lot of opinions on the books I read, and I will give my ratings on them, but to be honest, if I enjoy the book, I will give it a high rating. I don't really judge the writing stuff just yet. I feel like I'm not, I know how to read, but I guess I'm just not super experienced with it. Okay, so, and these are all the books I read in June and July. I know that we are very well into September. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I will post what I read in August and September, but I just haven't got around to make this video. But you know what? Take what you can get. It's better late than never, you know? So, let's talk about all the books that I read. Oh my gosh, my house. All the books that I read in June and July. I impulsively decided to finish a Shatter Me series after a year of denying that I was almost gonna be done with it. I don't know why, but honestly it wasn't as heartbreaking for me because I had closure on it for a whole year. So this month was just me finishing the series, and I started off the month with reading Defy Me, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, straight 4 out of 5 stars. What is this about? Oh my gosh, I really like this book. I just don't remember what happened in it. I liked the plot. I liked just the plot of her figuring her past out and everything. I think a lot of people were those books weren't necessary. I love this book. A lot Juliet's kind of in her own not in her own world, but she was taken again, and then Warner, his whole point of view is talking about their past. And I just absolutely love that, because I think I'm gonna go have a whole detailed video about this series actually, so I won't say a lot, but I was confused about Erin's character for a lot of the books, and I think this kind of put it into perspective for me a lot more. So I really enjoyed this book, and I feel a lot of people don't talk about it, or they just didn't really like it. So of Find Me, and I gave the whole book as a whole 4 stars, the whole novella, but the 2 separate novellas I gave Shadow Me 3 stars and Reveal Me 3 stars, own personally. But altogether this whole thing got 4 stars because it was a whole Kenji's perspective, and I feel we just all needed that from Kenji, because he just gave us more input of what he was feeling, because everyone just kind of forgets about him because he's just the sarcastic sad character, and he's just such a cutie, and I enjoy hearing from him. But I will say most of the novellas I did kind of got bored with them because they were just repeating the story, but I did enjoy hearing the story from Kenji's point of view. The next book I read was Bad Girl Reputation by Elle Kennedy. This is my first Elle Kennedy book. I never read the Off Campus series. I do hope to read that at some point though. Do not come at me. I know that book's a ride of passage, especially if you like sports romance, which I've had a few on here. But this was my first one I picked up. I don't really know why I picked it up. I think I picked it up from the title, I'm gonna be honest. And it is a summer book. I did realize that. I knew nothing about this book, but it is a summer book, and it's basically about Genevieve, and I think his name is Evan. I don't like their names. I think that also just kind of took it out. And basically Genevieve was a bad girl, and I think it was high school, like mainly high school, and then like when she graduated, she got out. She was like, no, I need to get away from my past, I need to change. And then her mom dies that she's not really close with, so you kind of hear like, that was kind of weird, her whole relationship with her mother. So then she comes back into town, and guess who's there? Evan. And apparently he's the bad boy that she did all of her bad girl things with. And he was like, because they've been on and off since freshman year of high school, so he was like, oh my gosh, she's back and we're gonna get back together. And Genevieve keeps pushing him away, so we get a lot of character development from the both of them, because Evan is also like damn, she changed, now I have to. And it was like, it was short, it wasn't all that sweet, but I did like the plot of it. I had to find it. I gave this book 3 stars, kind of just, it was entertaining, but it wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but it wasn't the worst thing I've ever read. And their relationship confused me. I feel like I could have gotten more context about how they used to love each other, because I didn't really feel the love in this book. I kind of just felt sexual tension, which, you know, you like every once in a while, but I also like love confessions and stuff like that. So my first impression of Elle Kennedy, it was okay. I also want to read Good Girl Complex, which was like the first like book of this, which some people say is really bad, but my friend read it the other day and said it was really good. And then I also will be getting to the off-campus series, so don't worry. Next book I read was The Puck Drop by Jacqueline Snow. I hope I'm saying that right. I honestly found this book off of TikTok, and it wasn't even this book. It was like the 3rd book in the series, which I haven't finished yet. I think there's 4 books. It's called the Central State series, but it's one of those like TikToks that shows like one line and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to buy it. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, mainly for the entertainment of it. Was it a little bit cheesy? Absolutely. It's a hockey romance. All of them are a little bit cheesy, but I loved the dude. I loved the girl. It was kind of like a jock, nerdy girl vibe to it that I really enjoyed. And basically it was between Michael and Naomi. Naomi's a coach's daughter. It's also a coach-daughter romance, but the coach just, like, her dad doesn't really care about her. He doesn't really look at her, so she was like, oh, maybe I'll get noticed if I like take an internship from her and like, or from him, and work for him. And Michael has the same idea because he can't play hockey. I don't really know why. I try to figure that out, why he couldn't play hockey anymore, but he can't. I don't know. Maybe an injury. I don't really remember. It's been a while. Again, it's September and I read this in June, but so they end up working together, and Naomi kind of is just like, ew, I hate hockey boys. I've had to work around them my whole life. Hockey boys destroyed my family because my dad was so obsessed with hockey, like blah blah blah, because her parents got divorced and she hates her sister, like her twin sister, all of that. But so obviously they slowly start falling for each other, and I really liked it. I actually felt the chemistry in this book, along with like the smut along with it. So, and it was also just like really entertaining, like kind of like, if the drama's good, I'll vibe with it. And I read the 2nd book in the Central State series, which is called From the Top, and it's about her twin sister Cammie, the girl from the other book, and it's about Michael's roommate Frederick, but everyone calls him Brady. And this is kind of, she's like captain of the college dance team. She's super popular, she's super fit, she's like drop dead gorgeous, but she like never wants to be in a relationship. She only does like a bunch of like hookups because it's just easier for her. And Fred has always had a crush on her, but he's just like, ugh, she was rude to me like this one night, like I'm never gonna like her. So then anyways, sorry, I'm all over the place. They both, their AC unit and their building, like their college apartment building runs out, so they have to go back to like this like super gross dorms of their college, and they end up being neighbors. So it's kind of like a little forced proximity, enemies to lovers. It's kind of like a it was kind of like a he fell, she fell, like at first, but then she obviously like fell harder. And I gave it 5, I don't know if I said that, but I gave it 5 stars, mainly for the entertainment, the love in it, like everything. It was just so interesting, and I read it on a car ride, so that might have made it like 10 times more interesting because there's nothing to do. But I just like really enjoyed it, and I really need to finish the series because I think the other two books are about other people on the hockey team, but I just haven't gone around to it. But so far, obviously, this one's my favorite because I don't know, just like the things that they said. Oh, she also loves Taylor Swift. She's a Swiftie. Love it. My one thing is the covers. I couldn't take this anywhere because that is what the cover of the book looks like. So if Jacqueline sees this, first of all, love your books. Second of all, please change the covers for my sanity. Read in June was actually a reread for me. I read this in like 2020. It's called Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway, and I reread it because I always said like this was like my favorite like romance book. It's like a friends to lovers romance, and I was like, this is like my favorite book when like people requested it to me like a while ago. So I wanted to reread it and see if I still loved it. I still loved it, gave it 5 stars, and it's about Emmy, it's about Emmy and Oliver, and they were kids when they were little, and Oliver's dad abducts him and takes him up to New York for many years, and then they finally find him and he comes back when he's like 17. So it was mainly about the relationship between Emmy and Oliver and them trying to find their friendship again, and obviously like they fall in love because what would this book be if it wasn't like that? This is a young adult romance, and it's just really like sweet and also like heartbreaking too, because you also get a relationship with Oliver's dad because he's like, I love him, but also he did this to me, and he like went his whole life thinking his dad was the bad guy instead of his mom, because his dad was like, your mom doesn't want us, when she's really like was looking for him for like 10 years. So I will always love this book. I think I read another book by Robin Benway called Far from the Tree, and that one was also a really good book. So I definitely suggest this author, and I think this book will forever be in probably my top 3 for romances. And the last book that I read in June is called Who Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McCanns. I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I am not a thriller reader. I know very little in like the thriller horror genre, and I think this is like a young adult one, and I honestly enjoyed it. I think I gave it about like 4 stars, so I like really enjoyed it. It felt like a Disney Channel movie to me, so I think that's why I loved it so much, because I love like the cheesy, like kind of unrealistic like high school like drama. There's a killer on the loose. That's like kind of the vibe it gives. It's about Ellery. She has to move in with her grandma because her mom was in rehab, so they moved to a whole new town, and this town was known for having like multiple killings. First it was like her aunt went missing, and then I think it was just her aunt went missing at first, and then another girl like 4 years before she showed up. So then when she gets there, it was like known for being a town, and there's also like a horror theme amusement park, so it was kind of like set the mood for the whole book. And it's basically her and her brother, and there ends up being like another killer. Like they keep like making threats, like posting things because their like homecoming's coming up, and like the homecoming court was nominated for it. So Ellery and a bunch of like other people band together to try to figure out who this killer is, what do they want, and why do they like pick like these certain people. Because it was like her aunt like 30 years ago, and then one girl like 5 or 7 years ago, because they all made like homecoming queen, and then they picked another girl, and it was just like this whole thing. But I did really like it. I am wanting to get more into like real thriller books. This is just kind of like a cozy thriller, I guess. I mean, I wasn't scared by it, and again, it felt like a Disney Channel movie. I think I would actually probably have watched this on Disney Channel, but it was just like a really cute read, and I like just enjoyed it. And the last book I read in June was actually an audiobook, and it was Red, White, and Royal Blue, and I gave by Cassie McQuinton. Sorry, and I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I refuse to take like any criticism on it. Even in the movie, I thought it was well done, perfect. Was a little cheesy, absolutely. But I think what I loved about this book was it took a story that I like, an enemies to lovers story that I know pretty well, and it like came up with like a plot concept that I've never heard of, and with a type of love story that I have never read about before. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it. I loved the characters, I loved the 2 people, the concept of the book, and like the whole love, like everything. Just this book that I read was technically the last book of the Shatter Me series, Imagine Me. I would try to say the author's name, but I do not want to butcher it after I've already butchered every other author's name. So I think if you don't know this series, like, what are you doing? I know I'm late to finishing it, but you know, most people shouldn't be. Book 4 stars. Sorry, I'm like looking at my journal in front of me. I think I gave it, I know I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars because of how slow it was. Like, I started it and then didn't pick it up for a few months. So that like kind of, if I do that, that like automatically just drops it a star if it doesn't engage me from the beginning. I think I'm gonna do a whole video on like the Shatter Me series and like dystopian books that I've read. So I'm not gonna go into full like detail about the plot of this, and mainly everyone knows about it. But I did give this 4 stars. The book that I read was Believe Me. This is the novella officially ending the Shatter Me series. And obviously I gave this book 5 stars because it was just perfect. Like the whole concept of it, the whole like the perspective they give us, like it was just absolutely perfect. And again, I will be going into depth for all of these, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I very much enjoyed it. I read was another audiobook, and it was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I was actually very proud of myself because I read this between like a few month radius of it coming out, and I didn't read it like 4 years later. And I think that was because I'm in like this book club, and that was a book of the month. But you know what? I'm taking pride in reading a trendy book. And I gave this book, I believe, yes, I gave this book 5 stars. This is actually my second Emily Henry book. I gave it 5 stars. I liked the I just like the like small town beach feel, like a found family group of friends. Like Friends is like my absolute like favorite TV show, so that it really just felt like a Friends episode but in the summertime. I loved like all of the characters individually. My thing about like why they broke up, that kind of like didn't really make sense to me. I mean, I understand, like, I've never really been in like a super serious like relationship, let alone like almost a marriage, but I feel like I wouldn't break up with I wouldn't not talk to someone for 10 years because of that. But I did like the concept of them lying to their friends, so they had to like fake date during that. I really enjoyed that part. Lovely, good forced proximity. I can never say that word. I don't even know why I even tried. 4 out of 5 stars, which I think really shocks people because Book Lovers is one of their favorite Emily Henry books. I've only read 2 Emily Henry books, and Happy Place is I like better than Book Lovers. But I don't know. I think it's because they were like older, which I know that shouldn't like affect anything, but I'm like 17, so I like kind of like to read like about teenagers, like young adults. They were like kind of older, and also it just kind of felt like slow to me in some parts. But one thing I did love about this book was her relationship with her sister, because I'm an older sister, I have 2 younger sisters, and just like the love that she like revolved her life around her sister, it like obviously made me want to be a better sister. But I love that relationship, the relationship between, I forgot the girl's name, but Charlie, I think. I really like, they were like okay. And if you don't know, the concept of this book was, I wish I had it with me so I remembered her name, but it was a girl, and she's a book editor, and she like she devotes her life to her career. Like, I kind of want to be her because she's like a boss, but also I don't want to be lonely like that. But she devotes her life to her career and her sister because her mom died at a young age, so she had to really step up, and she lived in New York, so you obviously like have to step up or be homeless. And she just worked so hard for everyone else around her that she's never really like focused on like giving love to herself. So that's what her sister wanted to do. Like, they went on a whole trip to this one town that her sister read like in a book, and it was supposed to be like one of those like cute Hallmark small towns. It obviously like wasn't. But then she finds out that the guy that she had an argument a year before about book editing lives in that town. So we kind of see their relationship like outside of work hours and see them in a whole new light. And we see her like branch out of her shell. Her sister makes her try new things, and I did enjoy it. Like, I did not enjoy it, but I think it was just like slow, so I think that's why I dropped it a star. The book that I read was Funny You Should Ask by Elisa Sussman. Like, ragged up, like it's looking a little rough, and I think I gave this book, it's a then and now perspective, but if my camera doesn't stop acting weird. Anyways, this is a then and now perspective between Channing and this superstar named Gabe Parker. I love his name. That just sounds like a sexy movie star to me. And basically 10 years ago, as he was like on his rise to fame, like he was so famous, he was about to like be the next James Bond. She did an interview for him, and that interview kind of took off her career and really like made him kind of who he was, because everyone thought he didn't deserve the role of Bond, and she kind of like proved everyone wrong. So then 10 years later, he's on his downfall. He got into like marriages, alcoholism, everything like that. So then they come back and be like, Chaney, you made him a big thing, then make him a big thing now. But there's like something that like sparked between them that everyone like kind of knew was there, so she kind of got hate for it as well, where everyone was like, basically you're a slut that slept with Gabe Parker. So she didn't really know if she wanted to go back to that, and it's really a battle between like what she felt then and how she feels now, what he felt then, what she feels now, because he did things then that kind of like he regretted later. And I really loved, my camera's about to fall to the then and now perspective of it. And I also liked how in like there were like articles and blog posts like within it. I really enjoyed that because I want to be a journalist, so it like really gave me inspo for that, and was like, maybe I will like interview a hot celebrity and he will be my future husband. So it really set a goal for my life. And I liked her name, like I like their names, like Chaney and then Gabe Parker. It reminds me of, in another Cinderella story, is his name like Jesse Parker or something, the Selena Gomez one? I don't know, but I could do that. I did that whole dance. I'm so off topic, I'm so sorry. But anyways, if anyone wants to come up to me and dance battle to that one scene where Selena, and then his name is, I think his name is Jesse Parker. Anyways, they're dancing between the mirror. I do all of that. I can do it. Anyways, but I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. This was another book that I kind of like started and then put away for a while, so that's why it got debunked rating. And then also like I heard that a lot of people didn't like it, so I kind of like altered how I wanted to read it, but I very much enjoyed it and I would highly recommend it to anyone. It was one of like my more favorite like then now perspective romances. And last but not least, I read Better Than Movies by Lynn Pater. I have not heard a single bad thing about this book, and I don't think I ever will. I obviously gave it 5 stars. It's about this girl named Liz. I cannot say her last name. I like try to figure out the whole book and ask multiple people how to say it. I don't know how to say it, so if someone can give me a pronunciation for it, that would be amazing. And she has this little enemy thing with Wes Bennett, which I love his name too. It's so freaking cute. And they've been at it since they were kids. And there's one time where her childhood crush comes back into town, and she's like, wow, I need him to see me, I need him to know me, I need him to know that I'm the new Liz, I'm not. Oh, and she's also like battling with her mother's death, who she was very close with. So like to feel closer to her, she reads or watches a bunch of romance movies. So everyone kind of knows her as like the movie girl, and she also like dresses like them too, which I think that's very fun. But I'd probably be friends with Liz. So she wants to make like her childhood crush. I forgot his name. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have the perfect romance with him. Like, she's a senior in high school. She's like, this is it for me. This can be my epic high school love. So then she goes up to Wes and she's like, hey, let's fake date. And in exchange, you can have the parking spot that we fight over every day forever. And Wes just kind of agrees with it, but obviously we all know why he agrees to it. So it's real, and then it's really funny like looking at it, and she like every time she tries to talk to that other dude that I forgot his name, something goes wrong, and it's just like the whole universe like telling her like that he's not it for you. And it's one of those like typical stories as you're chasing after the guy you want, you realize that the guy that you have is like enough, if that makes sense. This also like felt like a Disney Channel movie, and I love Disney Channel so much, so I love anything that kind of has that same like cozy vibe to it. And also the fan cast made Wes Jack Champion, and that made the book a million times better. So I suggest if you read this to think about him when you do it, because it puts a whole new perspective on it. And it's like real, and it also gave like realistic high school. It didn't give like super like out of the blue like high school things. Like I hate it when people like go on and on about like high school parties and stuff like that, and it's like an adult that just doesn't really know how it is. So this just gave everything like relative to like high school. And then she was also not like, I hate high school, like she wasn't like over exaggerating about how she just doesn't fit in high school, which I think that's how a lot of like girl characters, you can go off. Like I've read other books where she's like, I just hate high school, like blah blah blah. She's still like, she wanted to enjoy high school. It was just hard for her, especially her senior year, like without her mother. So it's also like her growing through that, and then her finding a relationship with Wes too. It was honestly so cute. I need to read other books by Lynn Painter. I know she has that one book, The Do-Over. I really want to read that one. And then also I heard that we're getting a Wes's point of view for this book in like 2024. That makes me so incredibly happy. I will always take a guy's perspective on anything. Like when it has a boy and a girl perspective, 5-star. I mean, not a 5-star book. Half of these had dual perspective, and I didn't give them 5 stars, but it obviously gives it up a star. Is every book that I read in June and July. It was a really good reading month for me. 16 books for me, and I like haven't read, I don't think I've ever read that much. This year has really been a reading year for me. I will say that like August was a little slow because my goal is always 4 books a month. Like if you don't do that, I may as well just give up on life. So I always try to excel that, which I think every month this year I have reached like 4 books or more. And it also helps when I have audiobooks, because I'm driving my commute to school, and like I'm just driving for most of my days, and also in classes. I count audiobooks as books, like you read it, because I listened to it and I imagined it in my mind. There's a whole movie playing out there. But I do want to know if y'all consider Wattpad books actual books, because I'm having like this little Wattpad thing with my friends where we're reading Harry Potter ones, and I need y'all to tell me if y'all actually consider that a book or not, and if I should actually talk about it, because I know a bunch of Wattpad stories turn into books and also like turn into movies, so I'm not sure about that. And then my reads for September, I'm gonna need to finish that Icebreaker book. It's like back there, halfway through it, and I started it in like August, so I need to get it done. I also want to read not all of the Harry Potter books, but I need to read some of them because it's just the season for it. And also I have Tom Felton's like book that he wrote, which I really want to get into, like more like non-fiction things like that. And also I want to start Throne of Glass. I also have Assassin's Blade back there, which after a long debate, I will be reading that one first. I've did my research on it, and I think that I'll be fine with that. But I'm a little scared because I'm not a fantasy reader. I've read one here and there, but I'm really trying to get educated in every single genre. So comment like books that like from each genre that I like have to read, because I know like Shatter Me was like the dystopian read, so I feel like I'm a dystopian reader, and I've also read like all the other ones, so I consider myself a good dystopian reader. I consider myself a solid romance reader because of what I read, but like thriller and fantasy I'm so new to, and I need help with it. But that is the end of the video. I'll try to get better at like explaining things. I start like going off about my own opinions without like explaining what the book was about. I realized I did that many times in this book, so I'm gonna try best not to do it. Here's a little pile, my phone book off this tripod. I think I got it for like free, so I can't really complain about how bad it is because I didn't buy it. Maybe I'll invest in one, and I also need to invest in a camera at some point. Maybe that will happen, but I'm gonna stop talking now. But if you want more book videos from me, let me know. I would love to do more of sit down videos. I feel like I talk a million miles a minute, so maybe I'll get better at that. And please comment down below all the books, all the things that I need to know, because I consider myself like a new reader when I'm not. I've been reading since like 4th grade, but I just feel like since I haven't read like the super popular books that I'm not like in with the it crowd of book talk. So I don't know. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you later. Woo!